In 1974, viewers everywhere fell in love with Little House on the Prairie. The episodes chronicled the lives of the Ingalls family as they went about their days at the family farm in Walnut Grove, Minnesota. Each family member offered relatable and inspiring story beats, with Charles Ingalls at the core of the family. Behind the wholesome persona of Pa was Michael Landon, whose life could not have been more different from that of the Ingalls patriarch. While viewers saw a steadfast role model in Landon's performance as Charles Ingalls, Landon endured years of turmoil right from an early age. And later still, he engaged in activities that his castmates worried would soil America's image of him. Though he went on to have a beautiful family of his own, nothing was as simple as it appeared at face value. I'm your host, Nostalgic Nick from Do You Remember? And today we reflect on the tumultuous life of a true icon. If you enjoyed this exploration of a life full of triumph and tears, be sure to check out our other videos. And please, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel by hitting the bell below the video so you get updates on new content as soon as it's out. The Bedwetter. Tolstoy said it well, happy families are all alike, every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Michael Landon's family was full of unhappiness in ways that still stun me. Initially, it sounds like the stuff of dreams. His mother Peggy built a career as a comedian and dancer. His father was an actor and theater manager. But her marriage to husband Eli Maurice Orowitz was tense. The parents fought constantly, all the while their home became the site of numerous suicide attempts by Peggy, many of which Michael, at the time named Eugene, he witnessed. His mother became a constant source of stress for Landon. When she was not targeting herself, she targeted him, going so far as to brandish a knife at Landon. Ultimately, this constant trauma caused him to wet the bed for several years. Because he wet the bed, his parents made him sleep in a crib for years, even after his peers moved on from one. But if that wasn't enough, his mother took it even further. Peggy would take the wet sheets and hang them outside Landon's window so everyone would see. This transformed simple things like trips home from school into a mad dash, as Landon desperately tried to take them down before his classmates could get a glimpse of the soiled sheets. Landon's bedwetting continued to the age of 12 because of all this stress. School already presents the chance of encountering bullies. Facing one at home from a parent is horrible even to imagine. Michael saved his mother's life as a child. Even as Peggy bullied and worried her son, she also owed him her life. Landon was very much aware of her suicide attempts. He was also aware of her fierce temperament, which often put him at the sharp end of a knife, with her fingers wrapped around the handle. Landon had to choose his way carefully every day. Sometimes, though, he had to think quickly. One such instance came up during what was supposed to be a fun family vacation to the beach. Instead, Peggy walked into the water with the intention of drowning herself. Her young son had to intervene and save her. And when the deed was done, Peggy acted as if the event hadn't even happened. Landon, meanwhile, vomited from the trauma, which he would go on to call the worst day of his entire life. Bless his little heart. Michael Landon, the musician. Michael Landon ended up being a huge player in television history. His first unlikely foray into the world of entertainment came through an episode of Telephone Time.
Tonight I take the champ.
And who could forget his big jump into movies with I Was a Teenage Werewolf in 1957. Michael even became part of one of the first shows to broadcast in color. You guessed it, Bonanza. While making TV history though, Landon also built a music career for himself. By 1957, Landon was finally getting some consistent success and happiness, which lined up with the release of his single, Gimme a Little Kiss, Will Ya Huh? And Be Patient With Me. The A and B side of the record got a re-release in 1962 for the Phonograph label and featured a picture of Landon in his latest hit at the time, Bonanza. 2 years later, Landon released another single, Linda Is Lonesome. His musical work transcends beyond these titles too. Falling Out with Melissa Gilbert. Little House on the Prairie represented a momentous step in Landon's career. This man, who'd have to run home to hide soiled bedsheets, now conducted himself with confidence, enough so that he worked as an executive producer, writer, and director for this iconic Western. All the while, he starred alongside people that would become an extended family, in particular, Melissa Gilbert, who grew to hold Landon in high regard. While playing the fictional father to Gilbert's character Laura, Landon ended up becoming a parental figure for Gilbert over the years. She is reported reported to have said, "He was very much like a second father to me. My own father passed away when I was 11, so without really officially announcing it, Michael really stepped in." Landon offered sage advice that made it everyone's first job to give back to others. Along the way, Landon also taught Gilbert some other things without even meaning to. She explained in an interview, "As a kid, I didn't know he sipped vodka from his coffee mug, but I'm sure he's one reason why, as a young adult, I almost always picked men who smelled like alcohol." When it came to his romantic life though, even Gilbert was able to criticize her fatherly idol. His affair with an on-set makeup artist drew criticism from all sides, and Gilbert herself grew distant from him after Landon shattered the image that everyone needed him to have as Charles Ingalls. Chuck Norris taught him karate. What connects a rugged Western family man and a martial arts action star? Turns out a pretty key moment for both men. With so much wisdom to give about how to be a tough karate icon, Chuck Norris took time to teach others his craft. One such student was none other than Michael Landon. While it may be difficult to picture Charles Ingalls roundhouse kicking an attacker, this hobby is actually pretty consistent with the rest of Landon's adult life, in that he kept himself very active. But Landon's activities extended beyond that. If you can believe it, he would keep himself busy with swimming, golf, and weightlifting. Maybe Charles Ingalls should have done just one flying sidekick, just to let Landon show off what he learned from the Texas Ranger. Michael Landon blew up the Little House set. Little House on the Prairie as a show enjoyed sweeping success that lasted for almost a decade. And when it came time to finally wrap things up on the television set, Landon wanted to end things with a bang, literally. The conclusion of the show has its citizens of Walnut Grove mourning the impending loss of their homes, as they discover a developer had bought all of their land. They do put up a noble fight, but everything is already in motion. That's when Laura encourages everyone to defy the developer and blow up all of Walnut Grove. The developer would have their beloved town, but not in the same lovely condition the citizens had enjoyed for years. This finale became the stuff of legends when it aired in the 80s. We were all those citizens of Walnut Grove who grew up loving the place, seeing it as a second home. And watching it all go up in flames was shocking, even with the taste of justice easing some of the sting. So what prompted this bittersweet direction for the show? Some sources differ as to why, either painting it as Landon's way of getting even with NBC for ending the show, or as a way to make it all stop. Yet another angle looks at logistics. The original landowners wanted the property back in its original state, and blowing everything up was inexpensive. One common denominator, though, is that Landon did not want anyone else to use that infamous set when he was gone. Michael Landon's 9 children. While fans of Little House got to see a reliable, faithful patriarch in Charles Ingalls, Michael Landon would himself have a rocky family life for various reasons. In total, he was married 3 times and, across those 3 marriages, had 9 children. He established a blended family that included biological and adopted children. Oldest among his kids was Mark in 1948, who was followed by Josh in 1953, both the children of Landon and Dottie Levy Frazier. Then, during his second marriage with Marjorie Lynn No, Landon became the father of 5 more children. And going back to that messy affair when work mixed with play in 1983, that prompted Landon to marry Cindy Clerico, the makeup artist from the set of Little House on the Prairie. And together they had 2 more kids in 1983 and 1986. A Tale of 3 Wives. Through 3 marriages, Landon made a wide extended family for himself. Each was rife with its own instances of success and stifling tension. His first marriage to Dottie Levy Frazier lasted around 6 years, beginning in 1956 before they divorced in 62. And during their marriage, Dottie worked as a legal secretary while Landon lived in her apartment and looked for acting gigs. But her salary alone was not enough to keep them in that apartment, and soon the couple relocated to a utility room in an apartment run by Dottie's grandmother. Marjorie Lynn No marked the first time Landon would meet a future spouse while acting. This time they met on the set of Bonanza, while he was Little Joe Cartwright. Likewise, she too found herself acting, in her case as a saloon girl in the 1960 episode Bitter Water. At this time, Landon already stated that he and Dottie were growing distant from one another and stayed together only for their children. All the while, Landon grew repeatedly frustrated when the boys were called his adopted children, insisting, "They're my kids and they'll be mine as long as I live." Adopting another child, Jason Smith, in 1961 did not save their marriage as Dottie hoped. Instead, he married Marjorie, who herself was married twice before Landon. This time, Landon would want to pursue adoption, specifically his stepdaughter Cheryl, who was Marjorie's daughter with another man. However, the stepdaughter's biological father objected. But even without the formalities, Landon assured Cheryl he considered her to be his daughter. However, his fidelity and dedication did not consistently extend to his wife. When Bonanza ended, Landon ended up working heavily on Little House on the Prairie. There, he met and had an affair with the makeup artist Cindy Clerico. This affair, coupled with loss through Landon's life, prompted him to break up with Marjorie completely. His children were crushed. In 1983, right on Valentine's Day, Landon married Clerico, a friend in Johnny Carson. Michael Landon was a man of faults and strengths. He faced hurdles made by his own actions and those thrown at him throughout his life. After moving out from under the veil of stress his mother always hung over him, Landon faced another huge challenge later in life: cancer. This battle drew everyone's attention, and rumors spilled from the floodgates faster than the truth could patch up the holes.
Most of the nation and the world probably know by now that on April 8th of this year, Michael Landon was diagnosed as having inoperable cancer of the pancreas and liver.
Landon could count on appearances on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson to clear the air himself. But appearing on the show didn't just give him time to address his fans. It also allowed Landon to enjoy lighter moments with Johnny Carson himself. He appeared a few times over the years, with his final one coming in May 1991. Between then, he and Carson developed a friendship that even included pranks.
Few people know that when he gets his hair cut, he sends it to me, and I...
Do you remember watching Michael Landon's amazing performances on television? Had you heard of the incredible ups and downs he went through during his life, and so early on? It's hard to imagine someone so immortalized as a beloved, reliable figure on Little House had such a chaotic life. In a way though, it makes Landon completely relatable all around. All the hardships he faced, made by others and himself, speak to us and what we go through, while his time starring as an inspiring patriarch give us something to hope for in a better tomorrow. Hey, remember to like and subscribe, and please, let us know what you remember most about this late and very talented artist. From all of us at Do You Remember, thanks for watching.